Nathan Carter stood at the edge of the rocky shoreline, his rain jacket flapping wildly in the wind. Dark clouds hung low in the sky, and the ocean crashed against the rocks with unusual force. As a marine biologist, Nathan had seen many storms, but something about this one felt different. The research station where he worked sat on a remote stretch of the California coast. Most days it was peaceful, just Nathan and the ocean and his research. Today was not peaceful. The storm had blown in suddenly, catching even the weather forecasters by surprise. Nathan checked his sample containers and sighed. He should head back to the station, but something caught his eye. Strange flashes of blue-green light in the water about 100 yards offshore. At first he thought it might be bioluminescent algae stirred up by the storm, but the pattern seemed wrong, too irregular and too bright. He squinted through the rain. There it was again, a flash of light, followed by what looked like an arm breaking the surface of the water. Someone was drowning. Nathan didn't hesitate. He sprinted back to the small boathouse where the station kept an emergency rescue boat. His hands moved quickly, years of training taking over as he launched the boat into the angry sea. The small motor roared to life, and he steered toward the flashing lights, fighting against waves that threatened to capsize him with each swell. "Hold on," he shouted, though his voice was lost in the howling wind. "I'm coming." As he drew closer, lightning flashed overhead, illuminating the water. What Nathan saw made him freeze for just a second. The figure struggling in the water wasn't human. The skin glowed with a faint silvery blue light. Gill-like structures fluttered at the sides of its neck, opening and closing desperately as if trying to breathe. Nathan shook off his surprise. Drowning was drowning, human or not. He maneuvered the boat alongside the struggling figure and reached over the side. The being looked up at him with large eyes that reminded him of swirling galaxies, deep purple with specks of light that seemed to move. Despite its clearly alien features, the figure appeared female, with a delicate face contorted in fear and pain. "I've got you," Nathan said, reaching further. "Take my hand." The alien girl reached back weakly. Her hand felt cool and smooth when it grasped his. With all his strength, Nathan pulled her into the boat. She collapsed on the floor, her chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow movements. The gill structures on her neck flapped uselessly in the air. Nathan turned the boat around, pushing the motor to its limits as he raced back to shore. Rain pelted his face as he kept glancing at his unusual passenger. She was losing consciousness, her glow dimming by the second. "Stay with me," he said. "Just hold on a little longer." When they reached the shore, Nathan lifted the alien girl into his arms. She was lighter than she looked, almost weightless despite being about 5.5 feet tall. He carried her quickly into the research station, his mind racing. What was she? How could she breathe? What did she need to survive? In the main lab, Nathan made a quick decision. He lowered her into the large, saltwater tank used for studying marine specimens. It was the best option he could think of. If those were gills on her neck, maybe she needed water to breathe. As soon as her body was submerged, the gill structures on her neck began to move more rhythmically. The dim glow of her skin brightened slightly. Nathan watched, amazed, as color returned to her face. Her eyes remained closed, but her breathing seemed to stabilize. He pulled a stool up to the tank and sat down, unable to tear his eyes away from his extraordinary discovery. "What are you?" he whispered. "Where did you come from?" For hours, Nathan kept watch. He tested the water, adjusting the salt levels when he noticed her discomfort. He fixed the temperature, making it slightly warmer when her glow dimmed and cooler when the glow became too intense. It was just guesswork, but he seemed to be doing something right because she remained stable. As night fell, the storm outside began to calm. Nathan rubbed his tired eyes and checked the alien girl again. To his surprise, her eyes were open, watching him with those galaxy-like irises. There was intelligence in that gaze, and something else. Curiosity, perhaps. Nathan raised his hand slowly in greeting. "Hi there, I'm Nathan. You're safe now." The alien girl tilted her head slightly, studying him. She raised her hand in a mirror of his gesture, then placed it against the glass of the tank. Nathan hesitated for just a moment before placing his hand against the glass opposite hers. A strange sensation passed through him like a gentle electric current. Images flashed in his mind. Stars, oceans, creatures he'd never seen before. Then a word, clear as if someone had spoken directly into his mind. Lyra. Nathan pulled his hand back, startled. Lyra, is that your name? The alien girl nodded slowly, the movement clearly deliberate and human-like. She pointed at him, her head tilting in question. Nathan, he said, pointing to himself. My name is Nathan. Lyra mimicked the word silently, her mouth forming the unfamiliar name. Then she smiled, an expression so human it took Nathan's breath away. Despite her alien features, that smile conveyed gratitude in a way no words could. Nathan smiled back. Suddenly aware of the extraordinary situation he found himself in, he had so many questions. What species was she? How had she ended up in Earth's ocean? Were there others like her nearby? But those questions would have to wait. For now, he was just glad she was alive. You need to rest, he said, making a sleeping gesture with his hands. We'll figure everything out tomorrow. Lyra seemed to understand. She nodded again and settled at the bottom of the tank, her glow dimming to a soft nightlight blue. Nathan dimmed the lab lights but couldn't bring himself to leave. He made a makeshift bed on the lab couch, positioning it so he could see the tank. As he drifted towards sleep, Nathan wondered what would happen next. He had discovered an alien life form, intelligent, capable of communication. Should he call someone? The university? The government? Something told him to wait, to learn more first. Whatever Lyra was, she had sought human waters for a reason, and she had connected with him somehow. Tomorrow would bring answers and likely more questions. For tonight, Nathan was simply a biologist who had saved a drowning girl. The fact that she wasn't human didn't change that. Anyone would have done the same, he thought, as sleep finally claimed him. But as the night deepened, the storm cleared to reveal a sky filled with stars, some of which seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as Lyra's gentle glow. Nathan woke with a start, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar sight of lab equipment surrounding him. Then he remembered. The storm, the rescue, the alien girl. He sat up quickly and looked toward the tank. Lyra was awake, floating gracefully, in the water. Her silvery blue skin glowed softly in the morning light streaming through the windows. When she saw Nathan stir, she swam to the glass and pressed her hand against it in greeting. Good morning, Nathan said, approaching the tank. He mimicked her gesture, placing his palm against the glass opposite hers. This time, he was prepared for the strange connection that formed between them. Images flowed into his mind. A vast underwater city with buildings that seemed to be made of living coral and crystal, creatures that looked like a mix between dolphins and humans swimming through arched doorways, and technology unlike anything he had ever seen. The message was clear. This was Lyra's home. You come from an underwater civilization, Nathan said aloud, though he wasn't sure if she could understand his words. But not from Earth's oceans? Lyra tilted her head, then more images came. Stars, a journey, scientific equipment. Nathan pieced together that she was part of some kind of research mission studying Earth's oceans. Nathan pointed to the ceiling, and then made swimming motions with his hands. Were there others with you? Your team? Sadness crossed Lyra's face as she nodded. She showed him mental images of a sleek underwater vessel and several beings like herself. Then the storm. Separation. Panic. You got separated in the storm, Nathan said. Do they know where you are? Can you contact them? Lyra shook her head. She pointed to a small device attached to what looked like a belt around her waist. It appeared damaged. Nathan studied the alien technology with fascination. That's your communication device? It's broken? Lyra nodded. Maybe I can help fix it, Nathan offered. He held up his hands in a gesture meant to indicate repair. I'm pretty good. With electronics, though I've never worked on alien tech before. Lyra considered this, then carefully removed the device and held it out to him. Nathan found a small container and filled it with water from the tank. Lyra placed the device in it, suggesting it needed to remain wet. Over the next few hours, Nathan worked on the strange device while Lyra watched with interest. It was unlike any technology he had ever seen. Instead of circuit boards and wires, it seemed to use some kind of crystalline structure that responded to touch and thought. Nathan used his tools carefully, cleaning connections and trying to understand the basic structure. "I think the power source is damaged," Nathan explained, though he wasn't sure Lyra understood his words. He pointed to a small crystal at the center of the device that had a crack running through it. Lyra's eyes widened. She made a motion as if to say she needed to show him something, then pointed at herself and then at the floor of the lab. "You want to come out of the tank?" Nathan asked, surprised. Lyra nodded. "Can you breathe air?" Nathan asked, mimicking breathing. Lyra made a so-so gesture with her hand, then pointed to her neck. The gill-like structures fluttered. She held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes? You can breathe air for 5 minutes? Lyra nodded. Nathan found a rolling chair and positioned it near the tank. "Okay, I'll help you out, but we need to be quick." He reached into the tank, and Lyra took his hands. As he helped her out of the water, Nathan noticed that her skin immediately began to dry and form a thin, clear membrane that seemed to hold moisture against her body. She sat in the chair, her movements graceful despite being in an unfamiliar environment. Lyra reached for the damaged device and placed her hands over it. Her fingers began to glow more intensely, and the crystal at the center of the device responded with a faint light of its own. After a moment, she handed it back to Nathan and pointed to a different part. "You recharged it somehow," Nathan said, amazed. "But it still needs repair here?" Lyra nodded, then made a motion like she was writing. Nathan quickly found a notebook and pen. To his surprise, Lyra began drawing diagrams that looked like repair instructions. Her artistic skill was impressive, and the drawings were clear despite showing unfamiliar technology. As Lyra worked, Nathan noticed her breathing becoming more labored. The gill structures on her neck were moving rapidly. "Time's almost up," he said gently. "You need to get back in the water." Lyra finished her drawing with a flourish and handed it to Nathan. He helped her back into the tank, where she took several deep breaths through her gills before her breathing returned to normal. Nathan studied the diagram. "I think I understand now. This crystal amplifies your communication signal, and this structure here directs it." Following Lyra's instructions, Nathan worked for another hour on the device. The damaged parts were beyond his ability to truly repair, but he managed to create a temporary bypass using some equipment from his lab. "I think this might work," he said, returning the device to the water container. "It won't be perfect, but maybe it can send a basic signal." Lyra took the device and examined it carefully. She looked at Nathan with those galaxy eyes, and a feeling of gratitude washed over him. She attached the device back to her belt and activated it. A soft pulsing light began to emit from it. "It's working?" Nathan asked hopefully. Lyra nodded, then showed him a mental image of waiting. The message was clear. Her people would need time to find the signal and locate her. "How long?" Nathan asked, making a circular motion with his finger. Lyra held up 2 fingers. 2 hours? 2 days? Lyra pointed to the window where the sun was visible, then made 2 circles with her finger. 2 days, Nathan confirmed. "Okay, you can stay here until they come." As evening approached, Nathan brought his dinner to the lab to eat with Lyra. He was fascinated by her, and she seemed equally curious about him. Through their strange mental connection and drawings, they began to learn more about each other's worlds. Nathan discovered that Lyra's people, the Selaeans, had been secretly observing Earth for centuries. They were an ancient aquatic species that had developed technology, allowing them to adapt to various environments, including the ability to temporarily survive on land and even change their appearance to blend in with humans when necessary. Lyra learned about Nathan's work studying marine ecosystems and his passion for protecting Earth's oceans. She seemed particularly moved by his dedication to preserving life forms that weren't even his own species. As night fell again, Nathan realized that in just one day, His entire understanding of the universe had changed. Somewhere in the vast ocean, Lyra's people were receiving her signal. Soon they would come for her. And then what? Would they simply disappear back into the depths, leaving him with an incredible story no one would believe? Nathan looked at Lyra, who was tracing patterns in the water that looked like star constellations. Despite the differences between them, he felt a connection to this alien visitor. Whatever happened next, his life would never be the same. The next morning, Nathan arrived at the lab early after a restless night. He had spent hours thinking about the implications of Lyra's existence and what might happen when her people came for her. When he entered the room, Lyra was already awake, drawing patterns on the glass of her tank with one slender finger. "Good morning," Nathan said, placing his hand on the glass in what had become their customary greeting. Lyra returned the gesture, and Nathan felt a wave of anticipation flow through their connection. She shared images of her rescue device pulsing, stronger now, signals bouncing through the ocean depths. Her people had received her message and were on their way. "They found you," Nathan said with a smile. "That's great news," but his smile faded as a new thought occurred to him. "When they come, will I get to meet them? Or will they just take you away?" Lyra seemed to sense his concern. She showed him images of her people emerging from the water, meeting with humans, in what appeared to be formal diplomatic settings. Then she shook her head and showed different images: secrecy, hiding, observation from a distance. "I understand," Nathan said. "Your people prefer to watch us from afar. They're not ready for open contact." Lyra nodded, then touched her chest and pointed to Nathan. The message was clear. He was an exception because he had saved her life. Their quiet moment was interrupted by the sound of vehicles approaching outside. Nathan went to the window and felt his stomach drop. 3 black SUVs with government markings were pulling up to the research station. "We have company," he said, turning back to Lyra with alarm. "And I don't think they're here to check on my research." He hurried to the security monitors and watched as 6 people in suits exited the vehicles. They wore badges that identified them as members of an environmental protection agency, but something about their manner seemed off. They moved with the precision of military personnel, and Nathan noticed slight bulges under their jackets that suggested concealed weapons. "This isn't right," he muttered. "How did they know you were here?" Lyra made a gesture toward her communication device. Her expression showed concern as she shared a mental image of the signal being detected, not just by her people, but by human technology as well. "Your signal," Nathan realized. They must have picked it up too. A heavy knock sounded at the front door of the research station. Nathan looked at Lyra, his mind racing. "We need to get you out of here," he said urgently. "Those aren't regular government officials." Nathan ran to his office and grabbed his backpack, quickly filling it with supplies: water, some tools, his phone, and the emergency cash he kept in his desk. When he returned to the lab, the knocking had grown louder and more insistent. "Sir, this is Agent Keller with the Environmental Protection Agency," a stern voice called. "We need to speak with you regarding unusual energy signatures detected from this facility." Nathan looked around desperately, then remembered something. "The underwater access tunnel," he whispered to Lyra, pointing downward. The research station had been built with a small underwater tunnel that allowed researchers to access the ocean directly from the lab for certain experiments. It hadn't been used in years, but it could be their escape route. Lyra nodded in understanding. Nathan grabbed a small oxygen tank and mask from the emergency equipment, then opened the panel that revealed the tunnel entrance. The metal door was rusty from disuse, but it opened when Nathan applied his full strength. "I'll go first," he told Lyra, fitting the oxygen mask over his face. He lowered himself into the access pool that connected to the tunnel. The sound of the front door being forced open echoed through the station. "Sir, we are authorized to enter these premises," the voice called, closer now. Lyra didn't hesitate. She slipped gracefully from her tank into the access pool beside Nathan. In the water, she moved with incredible speed and agility, guiding him through the dark tunnel with a hand on his arm. Her skin glowed brighter, illuminating their path. The tunnel seemed to go on forever as Nathan swam with all his strength, his lungs burning despite the oxygen tank. Finally, they emerged into the open ocean about a quarter-mile from the research station. Nathan broke the surface, gasping for air as he removed his mask. Lyra appeared beside him, her expression worried as she looked back toward the shoreline. Men in diving gear were already entering the water from the beach near the station. "We need to keep moving," Nathan said, treading water. "My boat is docked around that point." He pointed to a rocky outcropping that would hide them from view of the station. They swam along the coastline, staying close to the rocks for cover. Lyra could move much faster than Nathan in the water, but she stayed with him, occasionally pulling him along when his strength began to fail. They reached Nathan's small personal boat, hidden in a natural cove where he often launched for his private research trips. He helped Lyra aboard, then quickly started the motor. "We need to get far enough out that you can safely meet your people," Nathan said, steering the boat away from shore. "And we need to avoid those agents." As they moved farther out to sea, Lyra's communication device began to pulse more rapidly. She pointed excitedly to the horizon, then down to the depths below them. "They're close?" Nathan asked. Lyra nodded. Then her expression changed to one of alarm. She pointed behind them. Nathan turned to see one of the government boats rapidly gaining on them. "They're faster than us," Nathan said grimly. "We won't outrun them." Lyra touched his arm and showed him a mental image of herself disappearing beneath the waves, then returning with her people. "No," Nathan said firmly. "If you go now, they'll take me, and they'll have all my research about you. I need to lead them away while you escape." Lyra shook her head, clearly disagreeing with his plan. "Trust me," Nathan said. "I know these waters better than they do." He steered the boat toward a maze of rocky outcroppings that local fishermen called the Labyrinth. The dangerous area was filled with submerged rocks and strong currents that could tear apart the hull of any boat whose captain didn't know the safe path. The government boat followed, closing the distance between them. Nathan could see the agents, now speaking into radios and readying what looked like specialized equipment. "When I tell you, you need to go," Nathan told Lyra. "Dive deep and don't look back." Lyra gripped his arm, her eyes pleading. She showed him images of them both escaping together. "They want you, not me," Nathan said. "I'll be okay." As they entered the labyrinth, Nathan expertly navigated between the rocks, taking a route he had memorized years ago. The pursuing boat slowed, its pilots more cautious in the dangerous waters. Nathan guided his boat into a narrow channel, then cut the engine. They drifted to a stop in a small, hidden cove surrounded by high rocks. "This is it," he said quietly. "They'll find us soon. You need to go now." Lyra hesitated, then placed her hands on either side of Nathan's face. The mental connection between them intensified, and he felt a rush of emotions: gratitude, admiration, and something like affection. She showed him one final image, a promise to return. "I'll hold you to that," Nathan said with a sad smile. The sound of the government boat's engine grew louder. Lyra gave Nathan one last look, then slipped over the side of the boat into the water. Her glowing form quickly disappeared into the depths. Moments later, the government boat rounded the corner. Nathan stood alone in his small boat, hands raised, in surrender, hoping he had given Lyra enough time to escape. The agents surrounded Nathan's boat within minutes. 4 men in dark suits pointed weapons at him while a woman who seemed to be in charge stepped forward. "Nathan Carter," she said coldly. "I'm Agent Rivera. You are under arrest for interference with a government operation and harboring an unidentified entity." "I'm just a marine biologist," Nathan replied calmly. "I don't know what entity you're talking about." Agent Rivera's eyes narrowed. "Our equipment detected a non-human life form at your research station. The energy signature led us directly to your boat." "Where is it?" Nathan shrugged. "I was just out for a morning ride. Check the boat if you want." The agents searched his small vessel but found nothing. Rivera looked at the water around them, her face tight with anger. "You let it escape, didn't you?" she demanded. "What was it? Some kind of new marine species?" "Like I said, I don't know what you're talking about," Nathan maintained. though his heart was racing. Two agents grabbed Nathan's arms and handcuffed him. They transferred him to their boat and towed his vessel behind them as they returned to shore. Nathan was taken to a black SUV and driven for hours to a facility hidden deep in a forested area. The building looked like an ordinary research center from the outside, but inside it was clearly a high-security government installation. Nathan was led to a small room with only a metal table and two chairs. They took his phone, watch, and everything from his pockets before leaving him alone. Hours passed before Agent Rivera entered with a tall man in a military uniform. His name tag read General Harris. "Mr. Carter," the general said, sitting across from Nathan. "We know you made contact with a non-terrestrial entity. This is a matter of national security. You need to tell us everything." "Non-terrestrial?" Nathan raised his eyebrows, pretending to be confused. "You mean you think I met an alien? That's ridiculous." General Harris placed a folder on the table and opened it to reveal printouts of energy readings and a blurry image captured from the research station's external camera. It showed a faint glowing figure in the water next to Nathan's boat. "We've been tracking unusual energy patterns in the ocean for weeks," Harris explained. "Yesterday, a directed signal was transmitted from your research station. It was answered by something deep in the Pacific." He leaned forward. "Tell us what you know about them." Nathan looked at the photo, then back at the general. "I'm a scientist. If I had discovered proof of alien life, why would I hide it? It would be the discovery of the century." "Perhaps they gave you a reason to keep quiet," Rivera suggested. "Perhaps they communicated with you." For 3 days they kept Nathan in the facility, questioning him repeatedly. They showed him satellite images, recordings of strange sounds captured underwater, and charts tracking unusual ocean movements. Nathan maintained his ignorance, though it became clear that the government had been aware of the Salians for some time, even if they didn't understand what they were tracking. On the 4th day, Nathan was moved to a different room with a bed and a small bathroom. It was still a cell, but slightly more comfortable. Through his small window, he could see that the facility was built near a coastline. He wondered if this was deliberate, a place to study whatever came from the sea. That night, as Nathan lay on his bed thinking about Lyra and whether she had safely reached her people, the lights in his room suddenly flickered. A soft blue glow began to seep in around the edges of his door, growing brighter by the second. Nathan sat up, his heart pounding. The blue light intensified until the whole room was bathed in it. Then, to his amazement, the solid wall of his cell began to shimmer and become transparent, like it was turning to water. Through the now liquid wall stepped 2 figures. One was Lyra, her familiar form glowing softly. Beside her was a taller being with similar features but more elaborate markings on its skin. Both wore devices on their belts that seemed to project the field, allowing them to pass through solid matter. "Lyra," Nathan whispered, rising to his feet. "You came back." Lyra rushed forward and took his hands in hers. The mental connection formed instantly, and Nathan felt her relief at finding him alive. She introduced the being beside her as Kelvin, a leader among her people. Kelvin approached Nathan and extended a hand in a clearly practiced human greeting. When Nathan shook it, a much stronger mental connection formed, allowing more complex communication. "Nathan Carter," Kelvin's voice sounded in his mind. "Our people owe you a debt for saving Lyra. She is the daughter of our chief scientist and very important to our community." "Your daughter?" Nathan looked at Lyra in surprise. She nodded, seeming slightly embarrassed. "We have come to free you," Kelvin continued, "but also to ask for your help. Your government has been tracking our research vessels for months. They are getting too close to discovering us before we are ready for full contact." "What can I do?" Nathan asked. "I'm their prisoner." Lyra shared images of Nathan acting as a bridge between their species, explaining to human authorities that the Salians meant no harm, but needed more time before revealing themselves fully. "You want me to be a mediator?" Nathan asked. Kelvin nodded. "Our council has debated for centuries when and how to approach humans. Some believe your species is too violent for contact. Others see great potential in humans. Lyra's experience with you has strengthened the voices of those who favor relationship. Nathan thought about what he had learned during his interrogation. The people holding me here aren't the ones you want to meet first. They see you as potential threats or weapons. We know, Kelvin replied. That is why we need your help to reach those in your government who will understand our peaceful intentions. Before Nathan could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Kelvin looked at Lyra with urgency. Our presence has been detected, he said. We must leave now. Lyra pulled on Nathan's arm, indicating he should come with them. Nathan hesitated for only a moment, then nodded. Whatever happened next, he couldn't stay a prisoner, and he wanted to help Lyra's people avoid a dangerous first contact situation. Let's go, he said. Kelvin handed Nathan a small device similar to the ones they wore. This will protect you as we move through their barriers. Nathan attached it to his belt and immediately felt a strange, tingling sensation over his skin. Kelvin led them back to the wall, which still appeared liquid. They stepped through it easily, emerging into a corridor where blue light danced along the walls. Alarms blared as they moved quickly through the facility. Guards ran past them without seeing them, apparently unable to perceive their presence, thanks to the Salian technology. They reached an exterior wall and passed through it just as easily, emerging onto a rocky beach. The night air was cool on Nathan's face as they ran toward the water. Behind them, the facility was in chaos, lights flashing and personnel rushing about. At the water's edge, Kelvin stopped and turned to Nathan. Once we enter the ocean, we will move to our vessel. Are you certain you wish to come? You may never be able to return to your former life. Nathan looked back at the facility, then out at the dark ocean. He thought about his quiet life as a researcher, his small boat, his tanks of specimens. Then he looked at Lyra, whose galaxy eyes watched him with hope. I'm sure, he said firmly. Let's go. Lyra smiled and took his hand. Together they walked into the waves, the Salian technology somehow allowing Nathan to breathe as they descended into the depths. Above them, searchlights swept the water's surface, but they were already too deep to be seen. As they swam further from shore, a large shape loomed in the darkness ahead. The Salian vessel was sleek and oval, glowing with the same blue light as its creators. A doorway opened in its side, water flowing in and out without affecting the interior. Nathan took one last look at the distant shoreline of his world, then followed Lyra inside, ready to begin his new role as the first human, ambassador to an alien civilization. Inside the Salian vessel, Nathan was amazed by what he saw. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and the interior seemed alive, pulsing gently like a giant heart. There was no obvious technology, no buttons, screens, or control panels, yet the ship moved smoothly through the deep water. How do you control it? Nathan asked, his voice working normally despite being underwater. Lyra touched a wall and Nathan understood through their mental connection. The ship responded to their thoughts, guided by the combined minds of its crew. Kelvin led them to a circular chamber at the center of the vessel. 7 Salians sat in a ring, their eyes closed and their skin glowing brightly. They opened their eyes as the trio entered, and Nathan felt their curiosity washing over him like gentle waves. The Council of Elders, Kelvin explained mentally. They wished to meet the human who saved Lyra. An older female Salian rose and approached Nathan. Her skin had faded to a pale silver, but her eyes held the same galaxy-like depth as Lyra's. I'm Selena, chief scientist of the Salian people, she said through the mental link, and Lyra's mother. You have my eternal gratitude, Nathan Carter. Nathan bowed his head respectfully. I only did what anyone would do. A ripple of what felt like laughter moved through the council. That is where you are wrong, Selena replied. Many species would not risk themselves for another kind. This selflessness is rare in the galaxy. The council members each placed a hand on a crystal pillar in the center of the room. Images appeared in the air around them. Scenes from Earth's history, both beautiful and terrible. Nathan saw humans helping each other during disasters, but also wars and environmental destruction. For centuries we have watched your kind, an elderly male Salian explained. We have debated whether humans were ready for contact. Some believe, your violent tendencies make you dangerous. Others see your capacity for love and sacrifice. We are complicated, Nathan admitted. But so is any intelligent species, I imagine. Selena nodded. Indeed. But now your government has detected us. We must decide how to proceed. The council discussed options, their mental voices overlapping in Nathan's mind. Some wanted to retreat to the deepest oceans where human technology couldn't follow. Others suggested limited contact with select human representatives. May I make a suggestion? Nathan asked. The council fell silent, turning their attention to him. You've been studying us from a distance, Nathan said. But that only shows part of who we are. True understanding comes from direct interaction. What if we start small? Not with governments or military, but with scientists and diplomats who are prepared to meet you with open minds. And how would we find these humans? Kelvin asked. I know people, Nathan said. Researchers, environmentalists, peace advocates. People who would welcome you without fear. The council members exchanged glances, their skin changing colors as they communicated privately. Finally, Selena spoke. We will consider your proposal. But first, we must address a more immediate concern. Your government agents are searching for you and for us. They have traced our energy signature and will not stop hunting. What can we do? Nathan asked. We have prepared for this possibility, Kelvin said. But we need your help. The plan was explained to Nathan through a series of mental images. The Selians had technology that could erase specific memories from human minds. They needed to use it on the agents who had captured Nathan, removing all knowledge of their existence while leaving other memories intact. You want to just wipe their minds? Nathan asked, uncomfortable with the idea. Not entirely, Selena clarified. Only memories related to us. It is temporary, a delay tactic to give us time to prepare for proper contact. Nathan thought about Agent Rivera and General Harris. They weren't evil people just doing what they believed protected their country. What do you need me to do? Return to the facility, Kelvin said. Deliver a message to your leaders explaining that you experienced unusual phenomena that require further study by civilian scientists, not military personnel. While you distract them, our team will use our technology to modify their memory files. Nathan took a deep breath. That's asking a lot. They'll arrest me again, maybe worse. Lyra moved to his side and touched his arm. She showed him images of their future, Selaeans and humans working together, sharing knowledge, healing the oceans. Then she showed him something else. Nathan as an ambassador between the two species, respected by both worlds. You see something special in me, Nathan said to her. But I'm just one person. Sometimes one person is enough to change everything, Selena said gently. My daughter believes in you. So do I. Nathan looked around at the council, at Kelvin, and finally at Lyra. He had already left his old life behind. Now he was being offered a chance to do something truly important. I'll do it, he said. But I want your promise that no one will be harmed. You have our word, Kelvin said, placing a hand over his heart. The next day, Nathan walked up to the gate of the government facility in dry clothes provided by the Selians. Guards immediately surrounded him, weapons drawn. I want to speak to General Harris, Nathan said calmly. I have information about the oceanic phenomena you're tracking. Within minutes. He was back in the interrogation room. General Harris and Agent Rivera entered, looking both angry and surprised. Where have you been, Carter? Harris demanded. How did you escape? I have a message, Nathan said, ignoring the question. The entities you're tracking are peaceful, explorers. They want to establish contact, but through scientific channels, not military ones. As Nathan spoke, a faint blue light began to glow around the edges of the room, unnoticed by the agents. Nathan kept talking, holding their attention while Selian technology did its work. They've been studying Earth's oceans for centuries. They're concerned about pollution, warming waters, and dying coral reefs. They believe our species can help each other. Rivera leaned forward. You've communicated with them? How? Before Nathan could answer, The blue light flashed brightly. Harris and Rivera blinked several times, then looked at Nathan with confusion. "Mr. Carter," Harris said, his tone now puzzled rather than hostile. "Why are we meeting with you again? Something about unusual ocean readings at your research station?" The memory modification had worked. They had no recollection of Lyra or the Silians, only a vague interest in oceanic anomalies. "Yes," Nathan said smoothly. "I've detected unusual patterns that I believe warrant further study. I'd like to assemble a team of civilian researchers to investigate. With your permission, of course." 3 months later, Nathan stood on the deck of a research vessel in the middle of the Pacific. Surrounding him were 20 of Earth's top marine scientists, environmentalists, and diplomatic experts, people he trusted to handle first contact with wisdom and care. Below the surface, Lyra waited with her parents and the Council of Elders. Today would be the first official meeting between humans and Silians. As Nathan gave the signal to begin, he thought about how his life had changed since that stormy day when he spotted a drowning alien girl. His simple act of compassion had opened the door to a new chapter in human history. Lyra emerged from the water, followed by her people. The assembled humans gasped in wonder. Nathan stepped forward, bridging the gap between the two worlds. "Welcome to the surface," he said to the Silians. Then, turning to his fellow humans, he added, "And welcome to a new era of cooperation and friendship." Lyra moved to stand beside him, her galaxy eyes shining with hope for the future they would build together. A future that began with one human's decision to save a drowning stranger, regardless of where she came from.